Hi, I'm Cassandra Perkins, and I'm here with Dan Caro. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Hey Cassandra, I'm really good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I mean, honestly, I feel really, really blessed. So, would you just tell me a little bit briefly about your history and your past and what happened?
Well, when I was 2 years old, I was in an accident, a fire in a garage. I had knocked a can of gasoline over on my way to um, get a wagon. I had a wagon in the garage that I loved to play with, a Flintstones wagon actually. And my mother was outside in the backyard. It was St. Patrick's Day, and typical day in Louisiana, southern Louisiana, New Orleans suburb. Grass is high, needs to be cut, so my mom was outside cutting the grass. My father and two brothers were at work and school. It was just her and I at home. And while she was in the backyard cutting, I escaped into the garage and knocked that can of gasoline over. And the gas-powered water heater with the exposed pilot on the bottom ignited the vapor, which had flooded the garage. And I was trapped in a fireball of about nearly 2,500 degrees of actual heat. And I was just trapped in there. My mom heard me screaming over the city noise and the lawnmower and comes running in, pulls me out, sees her 2-year-old son literally cooking like a piece of cooking meat on the floor, dying. And she pulled me out, and we had a patch of grass right outside the garage, and she laid me out there, and she started weeping hysterically, having no idea what to do. I mean, she was absolutely in a state of hysterics and panic. So a neighbor down the street heard her screams and smelled the smoke from the garage burning and called the 911. And we lived 4 blocks from a volunteer station, fire station, and they were there instantly and took me to the local trauma unit that had a burn unit on it. And I stayed there for 72 hours and got my diagnosis of 3rd and 4th degree burns over 80% of my body, and prognosis of survival was less than 20% or so. And a Shriner, and perhaps we'll talk more about that later, but this organization that has a network of hospitals in North America contacted my family and offered to have me flown up to a pediatric burn center in Boston, Massachusetts, at one of the Shriners Hospitals for Children. Wow. And my parents accepted their offer, and I spent 4 months there initially being treated for my burns. Wow. And then ultimately for the next 18 years having 80 surgeries or so through the Shriners Hospitals for Children between Boston and Galveston, Texas. Just 2 of our 22 hospitals throughout North America.
Wow. So what is Shriners? Explain a little bit about what that is.
The Shriners is a philanthropy. We're actually a fraternity and a philanthropy. We're part of the Freemasons, Masonic body, a division of the Masonic fraternity. We own and operate through one of our philanthropy 22 pediatric children's hospitals throughout North America, and they're pretty evenly spread out throughout Canada and the US. But we treat 4 conditions only. Orthopedics, which encompasses a wide variety of issues, burns, spinal cord injuries, and cleft lip and palate. And way back in 1922, when we opened our first hospital in Shreveport, Louisiana, we decided to treat only certain conditions to be the best in the world at what we do. And over the years, we have become elite in research and development and the treatment of pediatric burns and orthopedics and spinal cord injury. We're on the leading edge. We're also partnered with a lot of universities, and we're a training facility also for medical doctors and nursing staff and whatnot. So it's just a phenomenal organization that I'm honored to be part of.
So you're an ambassador now there, I've heard?
Yes, that's correct. I am an ambassador. I travel around on behalf of the Shrine to try to raise community awareness and to try to motivate our membership, internally to perpetuate the organization. We've helped 1 million children since 1922. We've treated 1 million children. Wow. For free, completely for free.
That's amazing.
Unlimited care. Also cover transportation expenses, post-op procedures, pre-op procedures. We'll cover it. There's no bill ever to the family of the patient, ever. We absorb all the costs, and it's all done through the generosity of the public, through fundraising, and through endowments from our membership, and it's just a great organization. It's just second to none. So.
Do you go back to the hospital and visit the kids and talk to the kids?
I try as often as possible. I do travel a lot with my speaking, and we'll get to this book in a second, but I'm on a kind of a book tour as well as a musician. I tour a lot with bands. So if I'm ever in an area where there is a Shriners Hospital and I have time to go visit, I try to make it a point to go visit the kids or their families and the administration and the medical staff. Because I think it's important for doctors and nurses and whoever, just anybody associated with a hospital, to see the effect of their work, the result. And I've been fortunate. I've met a lot of the Shriner kids through the years, and a lot of the doctors and nurses who give up their entire lives basically to provide second chances to these families.
That's amazing.
And it really is amazing. It's absolutely phenomenal, and it's such a rewarding experience to have that opportunity to be part of the organization, but also to visit with the families and the staffs of these hospitals.
And talk to the kids and everything. That's absolutely amazing. So since you mentioned your book and your CD, so you are a motivational speaker, am I correct?
Yes, motivational, inspirational speaker. I travel a lot. I do talks all throughout North America, trying to break into the European markets as well. My book will be released in the UK July 4th this year, actually. So I've been very fortunate. I do a lot of corporate events, public events, schools, religious groups, and it's just been super rewarding to share my experiences and my insights with anybody who's willing to listen. So this book has just come out last spring, and it's been an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to have the opportunity to put my story to page and share that with readers across the world. So it's phenomenal.
So basically your book is just about your story, or what is it about basically?
Yeah, I mean, the book is entitled The Gift of Fire, How I Made Adversity Work for Me. I think the title in itself explains a lot about me before you even open the cover. Obviously, I share my story, my experiences, and also insights gained through my journey. I try not to focus as much on the accident as much as the journey. We're all on a journey here. That's something that we all share. And we're all here, I think, to learn valuable lessons and to help share with other people, to uplift and inspire people. And I've had so many people in my life who are great teachers of mine, who've helped me, grow as a human being and learn compassion and learn how to love and to see or be able to transform negatives into positives, to see adversities as opportunities instead of this negative, horrifying experience that can cripple you. I don't really look at life in a negative light. And I try to explain some of that and share those insights inside this book. And so
it's a blessing. It really is. It made you a better person. But so along the way you met Wayne Dwyer. So how did you come about meeting him, or did he meet you through your book, and was he everything that you imagined him to be, or what was the story behind that?
Well, Dr. Wayne Dyer has been one of my favorite authors and speakers for several years. And throughout my speaking travels and being a Shriner, I kind of networked with some speakers in the business world and in the inspirational spiritual world, and I've been fortunate to share the stage with several speakers, and through one of the events, I was at a restaurant and I met Wayne Dyer's personal assistant, who is from Louisiana. I grew up a mile away from her. She's slightly older than I am. We share many mutual friends. We just never met. And we met at this pizza place in New Orleans, actually. I was doing a talk down there for an event. And she told me that she was Wayne Dyer's assistant. She lived on Maui, and that she would like us to connect. So she organized a meeting between he and I 2 months later at a big conference in Tampa. And from that point on, it just skyrocketed. And within several weeks, I was on stage with Wayne, speaking in Portland and in Phoenix and Tampa, and then blessed that he asked me to participate in his annual PBS performance or show, which is an annual fundraiser for PBS, as well as promotion for his current book. And that particular show was Excuses Be Gone, and that sort of birthed this book. I met the owner, Louise Hay, of Hay House Publishing House, and the CEO, and that was it. It took off from that point. So it was just phenomenal, and it's been quite a journey and quite a wild ride since meeting Wayne and Louise Hay and the people at Hay House. So
onto your music career, so you're a drummer. Wow, that's amazing, and absolutely amazing. So with drumming, how did you come about drumming? I mean, you started drumming when you were 12. I mean, how did you feel when you opened up your present and you got your first drum set? How did you feel?
Well, it wasn't exactly like that. It was, I went up to my dad, who was a musician, and my two older brothers are musicians. My paternal grandparents were both musicians. And I had a bug. I had the itch to play. And ever since I was very young, I was trying to beat out rhythms that I heard on TV or on music, and I didn't really understand what I was doing. But my dad kind of saw that I was interested in rhythm, and he was just waiting for me to approach him and ask. He wasn't going to ask and pressure me into getting into the music just because that's what he did. So when I was 12, I went up to him on one Saturday morning, I remember very vividly. I said, look, I want to play music. I want to play drums. And he said, it's about time, because they were waiting. They just were waiting for me to ask. And we went right to a pawn shop, bought a snare drum and some drumsticks, and went home. I hit the stick one time, the stick went flying out of my hand, and I was like, how am I going to do this? I don't care how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't matter. And he called up one of his buddies who was a professional drummer, who would become my first teacher. And we put our heads together, and over a period of a month, we devised a method for me to grip the sticks. Obviously, my hands are very limited. I have very limited grip with this thumb that the Shriners were able to reconstruct through a series of medical procedures. So I have drumsticks here, I'll demonstrate. On the left hand, I'm able to take that reconstructed thumb and grip the drumstick. And I didn't have a very firm grip on the stick initially. It took many years to develop the muscle tissue because I was so badly burned. A lot of my muscle tissue was burned off as well. So we at least had one hand taken care of. Now on the right hand, through a series of medical procedures, they tried to duplicate the same on the right. Unfortunately, I didn't have as much bone, as much skin tissue to work with, so it was very limited, and I didn't have any success with that. So on the right hand, we'd have to come up with an external device, which we did. We came up with a very primitive, simple thing called this is just a tennis wristband. It's like a sweatband any outdoor activity, so you wipe the sweat off your face. That's all it is. And there's some rubber bands wrapped around it. And with this very simple primitive device slipped around the wrist, I insert the stick in, and there you go.
Wow.
I have a very firm grip on the stick. I have full control. It's almost identical to a human hand as far as all the pressure points and the ability to bounce and how it's being gripped. So it doesn't look like a hand, but I assure you, this is a hand. And it's fully functional. Only for drumming, though. It doesn't work anywhere else. So, but with this very simple device, I've built a music career.
How did you come about creating that? How did you create that?
A passion for playing. Yeah. I love music so much, and my family played. And I grew up in New Orleans, which is a very, very musical city. and I had a drive. That's what it was. I wanted to play. I knew somehow that I would be a performing musician, a professional musician. And even at 12 years old, with very limited mobility, functionality in the hands and arms, I knew that I would be a professional musician sharing the stage with some of my favorite musicians. And that's exactly what has manifested.
Wow.
Over a few short months, I learned a lot of the fundamentals of music, and then my family moved far away, so I couldn't take lessons anymore with the same teacher. So I kind of began an independent study, and within 1 year, I played my first professional gig at 13. And then by the time I was 15 years old, I was what you call a weekend warrior. Every weekend I would play gigs, every single weekend. By the time I was 18, I was 4, 5, 6 days a week touring, also going up the East Coast and playing all over the country. And recording, starting to record a little bit as well.
That is absolutely amazing. So you have 3 brothers, 2 older and 1 younger, and they all are musical? You have a musical family?
Yeah, everybody in my family except my mother plays. And most everybody plays a brass instrument. My youngest brother plays guitar. And he played saxophone, which is a woodwind instrument, initially, but he didn't like it. He wanted to rock out a little bit more and play some guitar. But he's favored culinary side of things. Also, another tradition in Louisiana is cooking. So he's not playing as much these days, but everybody else is playing a little bit here and there. I'm the only one that took it to the extreme, took it professionally. My dad was a professional weekend warrior when he was younger, back in the late 60s, but he couldn't maintain it because he had a wife and some kids and needed to support. And being a musician full time is a little trying. It's hard. The money isn't as much as you'd like it to be, and especially if you have a family and you're just starting out, it's very difficult. So, but I'm not married. I have no kids, so it's just me and my dog Dixie, and she's been with me for 8 years now, and it's just been great. And I've had a blast. It's been phenomenal.
So what are you doing up here in Steamboat?
Skiing. Well, not right now. It's the mountain's closed. I came up to Steamboat actually to sub on a gig, a music job for one of my friends' bands. Their drummer had a family emergency, had to split town for a couple of days. Yet they had a pretty big gig in town that they needed a drummer for. So we have a history together. We went to college together in Louisiana, and he called me up, trusting that I'd be able to play the gig, and I did. And when I looked to my left during our sound check, I noticed this skier in the air in July, and he was on skis, and there was no snow around, okay? Yet he was on a long jump skier, and it was the middle of the summer, and I just couldn't understand, how that was possible. And it was this special turf that they ski on during the summertime sometimes, and I said, I'm sold. I need to live here. And then when you look around, you're in the heart of the Rocky Mountains. I mean, it's just a beautiful place up here.
Oh, so beautiful.
And then, of course, in the winter, I ski. So that's what I do here,
Skiing seems so wonderful. So you ski, do you fish, or what are your hobbies besides drumming and skiing? Is that about it?
That's pretty time consuming. I mean, skiing, our season is very long, from late November to mid-April. And I ski pretty hard for that time. And then in the off season, when I'm not skiing, I play a lot of music and I do a lot of speaking. So I'm traveling quite a bit and skiing hard when I'm here in Steamboat. So I don't really have a lot of time to pursue any other activities. I read constantly. I love to educate myself and to just expand my mind and just read stories of human interest stories and philosophical and spiritual stories that just kind of open my mind a little bigger and wider to the universe. So.
Wow. So you went on tour for drumming, or you went with a band. Who did you go on tour with?
I've been on the road several times with several different projects, a lot of New Orleans-based groups, sort of mid-level touring bands that were totally self-funded, no label representation or anything like that, and just all smaller regional-based stuff, nothing on the main national level stuff. So bands like Spyboy and Brotherhood of Groove and Demorphodon and Boogie City and some bands, Michael Ray and the Cosmic Crew, just bands that came out of New Orleans. So
Now I want to talk about just what motivates you and what inspires you. So what motivates you to get out there and pursue what you're doing?
Well, I've been so blessed in my life. You know, I've had so many wonderful opportunities and so many people who've motivated and inspired me. I feel like it's sort of my life's dharma or my mission to get out there and sort of reciprocate that to the world. Actually, I feel it so much that I feel it would be insulting to those that helped me to not get out there and spread this message and this joy that I have for living. Even when I was 5 years old, I have memories of people giving up their holidays and their days off to come and sit with me in a hospital. They didn't have to do that, you know, and they taught me what compassion and love and just genuineness of humankind can be, the potential. You know, they taught me about the potential of humans. And at 5 years old, I had no idea what that meant. But now, I'm 31 now, and I look back at this and I say, you know, I can trace my evolution, and it's so obvious why I'm doing what I'm doing here, because people have done that for me. So that really inspired me tremendously throughout my life to always be the best that I could be, to never make an excuse for my life. You know, people give me the right, they say, you know what, nobody would care if you wouldn't work so hard, you know, you wouldn't try so hard. They wouldn't think less of you. You don't have to do that. I look at them like they're crazy. I said, what are you talking about? You're giving me the right to complain, you know, about this, or the right to give up? That's nonsense. I believe no one on this planet has a right to complain or a right to make an excuse about what they want. I think that we all have passions, we all have dreams, and we need to pursue them. You need to go out and explore your life, explore your talents and abilities. You know, and that's what motivates me, because I've been blessed with people who've shown me that at a very young age, and it's carried with me, you know, until now. So, and it brings me tremendous joy to do so. It's like the more you give, the more you get, and that's a very, very, very true statement. So I have to live that. And now I've started the mechanism, so now I can't even stop it. Even if I wanted to quit and try to walk away from this, I could not. You know, something's propelling it now. It's beyond my control. I'm just an instrument now, and that's great. I love being that.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. When you're on your speaking tour, what do you talk about to everyone to inspire them?
I basically share my story, you know, and that's, I have to satisfy their curiosity. As soon as I walk out on stage, people gasp sometimes. People are just excited and they want to know. They're curious. I have to talk about my accident first. But then I flip it immediately on them and tell them that I never had a bad day in my life. And that really gets them, because they don't understand. Because everybody complains about the traffic and all this nonsense. And I'm saying, you know what? I was burned. I died 3 times. You know, I've never had a bad day. You know, I've never had pain. That's weird. You know, a lot of folks think that, you know, you must have had a painful life. I don't recall any pain ever. So I share this to my audiences. I try to explain to them that this isn't bad. This isn't a bad thing. It's only bad if I make it so. You know, I think it was Neil Donald Walsh, the author of the trilogy Conversations with God. He says, call a thing not a calamity nor a joyous event until you decide how it's to be used. And that's it. I think, you know, it's your choice. There are no bads and goods until you create that. And it's your perspective that makes something bad or good. And I try to share that with my audience to allow them to look at their life, their history, their present, and to say, you know what, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. And I have so many things to be grateful for. Because if you step outside of this country and you go into a real poor area, or you go into a real depressed, diseased area, you know, where there's famine and all this, and there's civil war, it's a blessing to be here, for sure. So count your blessings, and I try to help people to realize that they are blessed, and that they're gifted, and that they're, you know, as capable and as able and as worthy of life as everyone else.
Wow, wow. That's incredible that you've gone through the unthinkable, and it's absolutely amazing that you can look at the bright side of it. It's really an inspiration. Thank you, Dan. But anyway, when you said you don't experience pain, what do you mean by that? You just don't experience it? You don't feel it?
Yeah, I don't recall pain ever. In my conscious waking life, I don't ever recall experiencing pain. Ever since I was 5 years old, when they finally started asking me in the hospital, do you need pain medication? Are you in pain? I never said yes. I always rejected the pain meds. You know, every surgery I had, which is 80, they would always prescribe pain medication afterward.
You've never had pain medication?
I've never taken pain medication.
Oh my God.
I've never experienced pain. I experienced such a tremendous amount of pain initially that my body went into shock, my mind, my mental state, shocked, you know, and created this block, this mental block that would carry with me forever. That says any sign of pain, we're going to shut down your pain receptors and we're just going to numb you to the pain. Whatever it is, I'm grateful for that because I should have been in pain many times.
What do you already haven't accomplished already, but what are your goals for the future? What do you plan to go with this?
You know, I just want to try to be here now. I mean, that's a famous book and it's a famous saying. I think sometimes it's overused, but it's true. I just want to be here now. I don't want to dwell in history and overthink about what's going to happen in the future because, you know, things change constantly. And one thing I learned just recently, an abrupt change occurred 5 years ago in New Orleans when Hurricane Katrina devastated my beloved city. And all my plans were washed away. So I try to stay as mobile and as free as I can, pursuing my mission of talking and sharing my message and my insights with folks who are willing to listen, playing music. Really, that's all I want to do. You know, just stay in a healthy, positive energy here and now. You know, having compassion for my fellow brothers and sisters of this world. You know, and that's really my goal. That's it. As long as I can maintain that, you know, and laugh at life and laugh at the, you know, the struggles that we have, which are really petty in my mind. You know, our struggles of the humanitarian struggles are petty. They're nothing. You know, because it's not about that. It's not about accumulation. It's not about, you know, the house on the hill. It's not about financial acquisition. It's about love. It's about compassion, period.
Most definitely. Most definitely it is. What's your motto that you live by?
That's it. Live hot. Live hot. You know, or fire it up. You know, fire it up. Whatever. You know, I think you'll find I love fire. I have no problems with fire. I love playing with this. You know, I call myself No Hand Dan. You know, I'm not gonna sit around and being depressed and mope around about my, you know, my quote unquote disability. I think that's a nonsense term, by the way. A good friend of mine who taught me how to ski, is a great ski instructor up here, George Hurley. He said, you know what, there are no disabilities, there are diffabilities. Everybody is abled. You know what I'm saying? Just we have different abilities, you know? Everybody's just got a different talent. Somebody's smarter, somebody's physically more, you know, capable, whatever it is. You know, there are no disabled people. There are difabled people, you know? So I try to see that, try to find the good in every situation. There always is. There always is.
Wow. That's great that you live by that. Thank you so much for your time today and spending time with me today and talking with me. And this is going to be an everlasting friendship. And thank you so much, Dan. Thank you for the interview.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do you have a website you want to share with everybody?
I do. You know, I have www.dancaro, DANCARO.com. And of course, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and all that stuff.